already established things do this occasionally.
Yeah.
We're coming at
like
you
having...
weekly-ish.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I mean, welcome to the 2 Decades Too Late podcast, everyone. I'm Brad, hanging out with Josh.
What's up, gang?
Oh, boy. This is a podcast in which we rate and review an album that is turning 20 years old, mostly metal for whatever it's worth, definitely today. Josh and I each give a rating of 1 to 5 to 4 different parameters for an individual maximum point total of 20 and a combined maximum point total of 40. Yeah. This is a weird one.
It is a weird one. Today we're going south to Atlanta, Georgia.
Yeah.
Our band formed in 1999 under different name. Had a couple different name changes, but they were active for 6 years at the time of this release. Released some demos, EPs, that kind of thing you do prior to getting a record deal. This is their debut album. Today, released August 30th, 2005 on Solid State Records. So today, we have the Terminate Damnation album from Becoming The Archetype.
Hell yeah. Also, pretty weird that the reason they changed it to Becoming The Archetype was because of the Demon Hunter dudes.
Yes.
Like, straight up being like, change your name.
Yeah, there's a punk band called The Remnants. You are The Remnant. Change your name.
Have I listened? The Remnants seem familiar.
Seems familiar, yeah.
Like, that does seem familiar. I might have to look into that. Becoming the Archetype. A band I definitely knew about.
I was pretty into this album in 2005 for sure.
I'm glad, actually, because it seems like I probably should have been, so I felt kind of bad that I wasn't super familiar.
Well, let's talk about that a little bit later.
Yeah, true enough. Like, I definitely was. It's just, I don't know. I both, somehow remember definitely knowing these dudes, and then not. I don't know. It's very odd. Very odd. And I think we pointed this out maybe in another episode that I get them confused with Behold the
Arctopus.
Arctopus, yeah.
That's a fun rabbit hole, by the way. You had a good time.
I did. I had a great time. A really good time. Terminate Damnation, sick name for an album, by the way. Christian band, it certainly seems to be.
Oh, yeah.
Which is...
Solid State Records. They were told to change their name by Demon Hunter. Ryan Clark is featured briefly on this album.
Yeah, that's a lot of that. I will say, their lyrics aren't, like on the nose about it either. Like, it's cool.
They're not. Track 6, the Epigon, definitely, those ones feel a little, praisey to me on a close listen, but kind of equally of note, very few lyrics on this 54.5-minute CD in the grand scheme of things.
Yes, or vocals in general, and I'm inclined to say it didn't do them any favors.
I'm inclined to agree, yeah.
Yeah. Also, Epigon, just for those of you out there listening who have never heard that word in your entire life, like myself, a less distinguished follower or imitator of someone, especially an artist or philosopher.
There you go. Did you pull that off the Jesus Freak Hideout review?
No, I literally Googled 3 different words because of this damn thing.
Yeah, the Jesus Freak Hideout review listed and if you need to look some of these words up, they had archetype, epigon, ex nihilo, paroxysm.
Yep. Yeah, a sudden attack or violent expression of a particular emotion or activity.
A denouement.
That's the other one I looked up. Awesome.
Yeah.
Well, thank you, guys. I wish I would have just read that. It would have made my life about 30 seconds less difficult.
Yeah, it may have made you 30 seconds more angry. I'm not sure.
Well, I will say the word denouement, and for what it stands for, pissed me the fuck off. I mean, we'll get into it, but that's obnoxious.
Yeah.
Just we'll talk about it later, right? But I'm going to go and give you the definition now, so when I do get mad later, you'll get why. But denouement means the final part of a play, movie, or narrative in which the strands of the plot are drawn together and matters are explained or resolved. My ass.
Right.
Anyway. Yeah, Becoming the Archetype. How do you feel about the genres? This has Into Eternity vibes to me a little bit. Like the Into Eternity album that we reviewed last year.
Damn.
It feels like that to me. Like, except with a little less power metal in there, but
okay.
Same sort of. I don't know how to really identify this band necessarily.
I don't either, and I think that kind of stuck with them because there's 4 genres listed on this album, and there's even more listed on the band's overall wiki. So it seems like it is bananas. On this album, we've got heavy metal, which I think I agree with, progressive death metal, which I'm not so sure. There's a whole there's a whole dissonance between Christian and death metal for me a lot of the time.
I agree with you. I don't like that.
Thrash metal, which there's definitely some of that on here, and metalcore.
There's some breakdowns.
Yeah, there's some breakdowns-ish.
I mean, I hate to say that progressive death metal's probably the most accurate because I agree. I don't like applying death metal to a Christian band.
Right.
That really rubs me the wrong way and probably rubs a lot of people the wrong way.
Probably, unless you're taking like death in the, I don't know, Christian sense, just a different direction.
So yeah, I guess progressive death metal, but with the hefty caveat of it being a Christian band.
Yeah. Who we got on this album?
Well, we've got maybe the best name for a Christian metal band ever.
Yeah.
We've got Jason Wisdom.
If only it was Jesus.
I know, it'd be nuts. On vocals and bass, which I think is important to note, and I'll get into that a little more.
That's later, why. Okay.
Yes.
I missed that entirely.
It's a really important detail to understanding how this album turned out. Yeah. I looked specific. My thought process when I looked was he fucking better be.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
He better be playing an instrument. Anyway, John Starr. Like, fantastic. What are we doing? Yeah. On guitars and engineering. Sean Cunningham on guitars. Seth Heckox?
I'm going to say Heckox. I like a Heck-ox better than I like he-cox.
Yeah. He cocks, if you know what I'm saying. Guitars
if he fucks, he fucks, you know?
Fantastic. And that's been the podcast.
Yeah, right.
And then Brent Duckett on drums. That's the best name, though.
Yeah.
Duckett. Brent Duckett. Also, with all those like hard T's and K's, that's a strong name in a strange way.
Yeah.
But also, no chance you weren't made fun of at least a little bit at some point for being Duckett. Additional musicians, we got Ryan Clark, to your point earlier, the vocalist of Demon Hunter.
Hell yeah.
He did some vocals on Elegy 1 Deception.
He did. His vocals were "Wide is the path that leads to destruction." That's it. But
yep, and they didn't sound like him to me at all.
Oh, really?
They actually, no, I didn't even think they sounded good. I don't know why. I was like, who was that? And I
could pick him out of a 1,000-person gang vocal. Well, yeah,
it's interesting.
Dude from Demon Hunter.
Yeah, sick. I'm glad because I listened to Demon Hunter. I don't know why it didn't stick out, or in a good way anyway. But then there's a weird amount of people for a production that we are going to talk about.
Yes, we are.
But it seems like maybe there were too many people involved in the... I mean, I will say the amount of drum people on here, I think helped, seemingly. which we'll get more into, but I'm not going to do the whole lineup. But Zach Hodges is the main producer.
Yeah.
I don't know if I'd ask him to produce my record.
I don't think that I would, actually. And he probably wouldn't at this point. He has shifted his passion toward photography.
Well, I hope he's better at that.
But at the time, he was kind of just a producer for Tooth and Nail. He did... God, what other album did... Demon Hunter. Summer of Darkness.
Ah, okay.
In 2004.
Boy, Solid State did a lot of just shuffle thing from point A to point B.
Yeah.
Back in the day. That's really funny.
You know who is on this, though? Tui Madsen, mixing and mastering, who we recently talked about as doing the production for The Archaic Abattoir by Aborted. Maybe just have him just do the...
Yeah. You know, because the mix... Well, you know what? We'll talk about it. Yeah. Cart before the horse. Actually, I don't know if that's true.
Yeah, they're kind of alongside each other, which is also not an ideal situation, but...
No. Yeah, also, I'm going to just point this out now, and we'll talk more about it later, but the cover art was done by Dan Seagrave.
Fantastic.
Oh, buddy. So, this album is at 54 minutes and 33 seconds.
It is long, and it feels long. Yeah.
Oh, it feels long.
It's a little tough to stay engaged the whole time. I think they've got enough parts that kind of like... will draw you back in, but there's a lot of parts that you can just see yourself out.
Yeah, you sure can. Also, I guess there's no reason not to get into this now, but like this seems like a lot of potential that wasn't quite reached.
I have a note that says they don't really seem to have a lane. Not like they can, switch between a lot of stuff very effectively. More so like they haven't found the one they want to be in the most. Right.
I agree with you. I also think I kind of owe an apology to Fall of Troy for saying the phrase string of consciousness so many times. Because this is that. This is that in space.
All of these kind of sound like She's a Nightmare songs, or like they could have been. Like, this is the most 2005 album I think we've listened to.
True. I completely agree with you. Actually, there's that part where they do a break. I don't remember what song it was, though I don't think it would be entirely difficult for me to search for the word Edgar. There we go. Track 7, Beyond Adaptation. It's so hard not to say adaptation for me when it
is adaptation.
Did Spotify have another spelling error?
I hope so.
Holy shit. I do too. That's actually in play. I do all this from Spotify, so.
Oh yeah.
Good job. What is it with this time frame in Spotify? It's like, missiles? I don't know. It's close. Anyway, there's a little break in there with like a nonsense finger tapping part that we absolutely did in Edgar Griffin. It's the best thing on that demo, actually, because I don't know why I played that well when I played nothing else on that thing well. But I guess I did because I listened to it yesterday after I was done listening to this. I also I think it's worth mentioning to the it seems like they're so close to being something, like that whole potential thing.
Yeah.
I did listen to their 2022 album, and it's pretty sick.
Definitely.
It's really good. I think they found it a little later. I just don't think they quite got there. I also
I listened to their 2012 album. They had one album with a different vocalist too, and that kind of changes a lot.
That's probably good because I don't dislike his vocals. It just seems like he's doing vocals because he has to.
Yeah, and because like he looks up to Demon Hunter.
Yeah.
But his vocals he's got a kind of generic sound to his
Yeah,
vocals.
it's very monotone.
Yeah.
Like, even when he does, like, his lows, they sound like he couldn't be bothered or something. Like,
Same with his highs,
he,
honestly.
yeah, it's like he just rolled out of bed and someone's like, can you just do a low here? And he's like, fine.
Yeah.
I gotta tell you though, I kind of think of that a lot about this album. Like, I used the word lazy a lot. I'm not sure that's a fair word to use, but
Yeah.
I didn't have a better word for it. It seems like you got some really talented people in a room who didn't really want to do it, but they owed someone a favor or something. So like, all right, yeah, this riff is something. It's like, yeah, it could be better, and yeah, you're right, it could be, but I wrote it, and we're done.
Right.
And it's like, okay,
Yeah. This was the first pass at all of this.
yes. Also, I think it is weirdly worth mentioning that, you know, like when you talk about music and you talk about like major versus minor, and like, you know, minors gives you that sort of melancholy-ish kind of feel, or at least that's what it's supposed to. If you never actually allow yourself to be any of it, you really lack a sense of anything. Like, if you constantly go chromatic and never actually finish your like thought in a major, minor, whatever way ever, the emotion never comes through.
Is that why they call it resolving a chord or a phrase?
And if you, yes, the phrase specifically, but if you never do that, whatever you're trying to convey cannot be, because we are human beings who need resolution. And like,
I'm saying there's almost no denouement to this story.
None, and especially because, like, well, so what track is that? That's right, it's 10.
Right. And it's an instrumental.
Yeah. So stop right there. You're like, at least if you're going to call it that, resolve the album. Is it technically resolved? No, in no way, shape, or form, because again, you never finish a thought on this.
You can have an epilogue.
Yeah, but you're going to call it that at track 10, and then you're going to give me an 11th track, you
at
fucking
6.5 minutes.
Yeah, we didn't need an 11th track, okay? No. You did 10. 10's the perfect number of tracks for an album. And you called it, and it bothers me so much.
That would have put it solidly at 48 minutes, which I think would have been just the call.
Yeah, and it doesn't need to be that long either, but it's better than 54.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know who was like, I don't know. Let's get one more in there.
Yeah.
All right. Anyway.
So you already mentioned Beyond Adaptation, and at 2.5 minutes, like, I thought that was the most, like, that one felt the most genuine to them, kind of like as far as a sound and a style of music goes. Like, that one felt the most fleshed out, the most, like, this is kind of who we are. But even, like, boy, it probably could have stopped shy of 2 minutes and just been better.
Yeah, even that song goes long. Also, on Spotify it says adaptation.
Gross.
It makes me feel better for really having a hard time. I struggled with that.
Yeah.
It's like adaptation. Yeah. Interesting. But yeah, to your point, yes, I agree with you. It's like even the short song needed to be shorter. And there's a lot of that. Track 1, what do you think about track 1? In March of the Dead, it's an instrumental intro of sorts. What do you think?
I think it's kind of fine to be there. I think it does set up like some of the sound of what they want to do and a little bit of the theme, if you can call it that, of the album.
Yeah.
It definitely ties to the album artwork, but
true. That's the best I could do.
Yeah.
Is that it ties to the album artwork. I think the keyboards sound pretty bad. I can't really ding them for that, I guess, because they were working with what they had, I'm sure, in 2005. But, I mean, like, Castlevania 4 on Super Nintendo sounds pretty much like that. So, also, here's another thing that they do a lot of, in my opinion. Misery Signals likes to build up and then, like, fake you out. But when they do, like, cash the check, they cash it hugely.
Right.
These guys don't. cash
do
the
not.
check. Like, even the intro, it doesn't lead into the second song in any meaningful or helpful way at all. It just kind of stops, and then the second song starts. And it's like, you couldn't have done, like, something to make it go together? I don't
That's a super good point.
Yeah, and like, it's not even in the same, like...
It's just kind of,
like, key, or... It's just, we have an intro. All right, track 2.
It would be... I mean, it would be decent to, like, introduce yourselves in a live set to come out and play, but it's not great to start a record.
That is an excellent point. I agree with that wholeheartedly. Into Oblivion, track 2, 6 minutes.
Long.
Man, they really just... And it felt 6 minutes long.
Now that I know that the lead vocalist is also the bass player, that makes a lot more sense. Like, I had a note here, like, I'm not sure you needed to feature the bass, like, in single riffs in 2 consecutive songs to start the album.
Yeah.
But there you go.
Yeah, no, you're right. Also, the reason I looked is because, man, his vocal delivery, like, his, like, patterns are awful.
Oh, yeah.
They're so bad, but he's following his bass work, so
right.
I'm a little less harsh on that, knowing that fact. But I could hear what he was doing, and I was like, he better be playing an instrument, because that's the type of vocal thing that CKY vibes a little bit here and there on this. Did you get that?
It didn't come immediately to mind.
But
maybe with some of the guitar tone.
Yeah, they do a lot of octave harmonies, which CKY, like, he used an octave pedal, so it's like every riff is octave harmonized.
Hell yeah.
And that's a weird thing to do in, like, a metalcore-ish or metalcore adjacent situation. We didn't do a lot of that back then. Neither did many bands. It was third harmony. So it's just another weird choice that...
Yeah.
I don't know. It doesn't not work. Octaves do work.
Yeah.
But it's like, it would have sounded cooler if you didn't, or if you used any other harmony. I don't know. I was very nitpicky on this, because it seems like they're very talented, and it seems like they just, like, I don't know. It was like good enough.
Yeah.
A lot of good enough. Yeah.
Yep. Like, they were born talented and then didn't apply themselves. They just kind of stayed talented. And the scrappy person who was born without talent outworked them and became, like, I don't know, Dillinger Escape Plan.
Right. Yes, you're absolutely... And I think it's an important thing to note. Just because you're really good, or, like... If your musical proficiency is high, that's really sick. If you're really technically proficient on an instrument,
right,
that does not always translate to songwriting.
True.
That is a separate talent. And I think that is maybe the part here that they hadn't quite figured out. Like, they're clearly talented musicians. There's no way around it. But, like, that doesn't also lead you to being good at writing a song.
True.
So, yeah.
Or arranging an album.
Very much. The arrangement is terrible. I mean, it's not good. Like,
yeah, track 4, Elegy, like, that one's okay.
Agreed.
But to have a almost 4-minute instrumental after the last third of Elegy, which is essentially a 2-minute instrumental, right in the middle of your album, like...
Yeah, so in my notes for Elegy, I actually pointed out before I got to Night Sorrow at track 5, the fact that thing's an instrumental is almost offensive.
Right.
It's like, I don't get that choice at all. It's a good instrumental.
It is.
And if it didn't follow Elegy, I would like it. But the fact that it does makes me hate it. Like, not hate, that's strong. I don't hate anything on this, really, but yeah, it's... I actually said, why didn't they make the outro of Elegy just a separate track as an instrumental? So at least then you could skip it. You know, that's kind of what I think instrumentals should be able to be skipped if they're in this sort of context.
Yeah.
Not in a bad way, but like the reason that an instrumental is generally there is to give you some breathing room, but sometimes you don't need breathing room, so you can just skip it and go to the next thing.
Yeah.
But instead,
or just scrap Night's Sorrow. Like, I mean, it's a nice-ish piece of music.
Wholly unnecessary, though.
It is, and it's kind of out of context for the rest of the album.
Yep. Whoa, man. I can tell by on track 5 how I start to use more and more capitalized letters as my notes went on that I was clearly getting. As I was realizing this was just going to keep being a guitar piece. And I'm just angrier and angrier. Again, I don't hate anything on this thing. I think it's important to say that. I
also think I picked up an editing mistake in Night's Sorrow.
I mean, it's not that weird.
Yeah.
I'm gonna go back and listen to that then because I want to see if I can find it.
It's like the very first riff change.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Okay.
Like,
well,
some of it, like, you can kind of hear like bleeding from one note to another, which is cool. Like, that's how it was written. But like one of the notes is just like way off in nowhere and not like I had to slide real far to get here kind of noise way. It was like just like you had to chop that up. He couldn't play that clean.
Wow, that's weird.
I could be wrong.
Upsetting.
Yeah.
I mean, no, I trust your judgment on that. I don't know how far you want to get into track by track outside of that. Honestly, for how
I've kind of hit them all.
Like, yeah, for how not in a box they are, they all still kind of sound the same. Like,
they do.
They love that little 3-fret run thing to go between riffs, which is obnoxious. So the breakdown in track 6, the Epigon, which is a sick breakdown, and the gang vocal's super sick in the middle, like after the bridge.
It is, but it also felt forced. Like, this is 2005. You got to have a gang vocal. Okay.
Yeah. And the breakdown is cool. It is exactly the breakdown from The Charm by Unearth. I mean, even the snare hits on the da-da-ga-ga-ga-ga, it is completely ripped off. I mean, I couldn't even really enjoy it despite how I really wanted that there.
Right.
And when it started, I was like, oh man, that's like a day to remember level ripoff.
Well, they are from the South.
That's true. Maybe that's just how they roll down there.
The South rides.
And then on track 8, No Fall Too Far, they ripped off Interrobay. The
oh yeah.
And they applied it in the exact same way too, to make a phrase go another bar out for no real reason except it's 2000 whatever, and that's what we did.
Yeah.
It's exactly the same. Like, it's exactly the same. Now, don't get me wrong. I don't know how many people. I think you and I are in a vacuum with Interrobay, but come on.
Maybe.
I mean, 2 instances of just straight up forgery.
Yeah, when I said, like, each of these sound like they could be a She's a Nightmare song, I didn't necessarily mean it as a compliment.
Right. That's a good point. It's not a compliment. Yeah. Well, I'm good on this. I have more to say about the other stuff than I do on the actual songs.
And I guess to close it out, the Trivial Paroxysm at track 11 is 6.5 minutes, and it's there. There you go. Good.
Josh, we are reviewing Terminate Damnation by Becoming The Archetype. And what did you think of the album artwork?
So I gave the album artwork a 4. And I'm really surprised at myself for not giving it a 5, because mostly, like, in August of 2005, when I bought this album with my own money, it was probably the artwork that really drew me to it in the first place. And I think
I could see that.
It had some like yellow on the spine, so it was kind of unusual. But
That's
the album Painting by Dan Seagrave is phenomenal. It's a depiction of the war between heaven and hell, which is one of my favorite subjects. It's really well done. Like they seem to be somewhat in a stalemate, which is also fantastic. It's not like a clear victory on either side. Love that.
Agreed. It's so sick.
Yeah, the detail and the texture is all fantastic. And I even like the Terminate Damnation text down at the bottom. I think
same, and I weirdly like the line through it. I don't know why I like it, but I like it. I think it's really rad.
I think the band logo is what kind of loses the point for me.
That's fair. I mean, I get that. The only reason I do like it, I don't think it's a particularly good logo, but I do like it that they seem to put in effort to not take away from the artwork. It's almost like
with the yellow.
They didn't even. Yeah. It's almost like I could see the band being like, don't even put our name on this. This is beautiful. And the record label being like, no, you have to have your name on the album. Like, and they're like, all right, we'll make it just an outline and kind of like a light yellow. So it kind of, you could almost miss it. Like, so I actually kind of like that in a strange way.
It's a good choice. But like overall, I think it just doesn't get to a 5 for me for some reason. But like the next 3 albums that they released have all kind of a different logo that stays the same. Or actually, I think every album after this except for the one with the different vocalist.
Oh, well, that's a cool choice to make.
I think so.
That's interesting. All right, sick. 4.
What about you?
Off to a strong start. I gave it a 5. I fucking. And I'm glad that it reminded me of Decrepit Birth, so I'm glad that the dude did both. Like, because I was like, holy shit, this reminds me of, what is that Decrepit Birth where it starts off with the 3 dots? There you go, yep. So yeah, it gave me those vibes, and for good reason, because that's the artist. Also, the dude did the first Gorguts album.
Yeah.
This dude's that is nutty bars. But yeah,
Rivers
5.
of Nile.
All the same reasons you gave. It's really not a good logo, but I'm just glad they didn't try to make it front and center.
That's a super
they allowed the art to kind of do all the work. But I said the same shit you did. I said, awesome, it's good versus evil, love that. I love that it looks like no one is winning. All those things. So you nailed it. Yeah.
What'd you think of the production?
Man. It's like, technically, the mixing is done very well.
Tui Madsen.
Yep. I can hear everything. I think the drums are the winner on the production side of things. I think they sound awesome, which explains a little bit why there's like a drum tech and a drum guy and a whatever. Yeah, so like that's good. I think the bass sounds good.
It does have a nice tone.
The bass has a very good tone. I hate the guitar tone.
Yeah, it's not great.
It's awful. It has no energy. That's my problem with this album, bar none from production standpoint. There's no energy whatsoever.
Yeah.
None. The guitars, again, for like, 2 out of 3 reviews since Through the Eyes of the Dead, sound like they didn't change their strings or 9-volt battery for their active pickups or something. I don't get that at all. I hate the guitar tone on this thing, and I don't think the vocals sound particularly well done. They're either too loud or too quiet. So my note says, I don't know. I wonder what Josh thinks. Because I guess it could be a 3 because the mixing is done so well and the drums do sound so good that maybe that makes up for the deficiencies a little bit. But that lack of energy just...
Yeah.
It feels like I'm doing work.
Yeah.
Trying to get excited for it.
It does.
So 2. I'm going to land on a 2.
2's great.
I'm going to land on a 2. Yeah. What about you?
I was anywhere between a 2 and a 4, and I actually went with a 4 because mostly of the technical things. Like, the drums do sound fantastic. The bass tone's great. The guitar tone is not great. So, there's a knock there. But, it still sounds reasonably good today,
Yeah.
apart from the things that are just kind of factually and technically wrong with it.
Right. Which is odd.
Yeah.
It's
There's a bits here and there where the like bass and guitars are not in harmony with each other, which may have been intentional just based on what the part of the song was. But
yeah. Doesn't mean it's a good choice though.
Right. And yeah, like you've mentioned in the past, like some restraint from the part of the producer or some guidance from the part of the producer to be like, guys, maybe take a second crack at this.
Yeah. Like, well, that's kind of the thing. I can't imagine this producer gave any feedback. Like it sounds like he was just there for the job, which is fine. I mean, I'm not saying there's anything, I guess, wrong with that. I mean, that's kind of the whole point of metal, to not have to try to fit in a box, I guess. But they could have used
a box.
Yes, at least even a big loose one. Like
a big loose one with an open lid.
Yeah, sure, it's fine. You don't have to stay in it the whole time, but
right,
just here and there, something. Yeah. So 4 for you?
Yeah.
And you're right. Like the mixing is very well done. Like it genuinely, just like you said earlier, maybe just let that dude kind of do the work.
Right.
All right. Sick though. Well, let me go ahead and get my 1 for Impact at the Time out of the way.
Yeah, that sounds good.
Because I didn't listen to this until this week. So
there you go.
Yeah. What about you though on Impact at the Time? I'm interested that you bought the album. I'm not sure I knew that.
Yeah. I probably still have it lying around here or packed up in a box somewhere. But I gave it a 3. And I think because like it was different enough from everything that we were listening to in 2005. Maybe that's because they were just like trying everything all at once. But it was also still like very much what we as like She's a Nightmare and musicians were on to. Yeah. And also because like I don't think they were, they weren't a super well-known band within any of the spaces that we were in. So I kind of got to be like, hey, these guys?
Yeah.
But at the same time, it was like, yeah, they sound kind of generic and they're just okay. And I was like, yeah, but have you heard them?
That's awesome.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
So
all right.
it was a 3. Fair. Like I kind of held on to it because of that, because they were just kind of like, but also like I was the one who picked up the CD, so I could be like, yeah, I discovered these guys. And I kept listening to it, and I did kind of follow them throughout a little bit. But I think probably the whole, I don't know, as they got more or less Christian-y, I kind of got more or less interested.
That's fair.
Yeah.
Boy, I understand that shit's something fierce. All right. I mean, sick. 3's better than my 1. So, all right.
It is.
All right.
It's more. I don't know if it
is more
better.
Yeah. Well, and that's what I would. So for enjoyed listening today.
Yeah. Hit me.
I think I'm gonna give it the most like insulting 3 that I can.
Yeah.
Like I'm giving you a 3, but it is because I'm so indifferent that I don't even think you deserve my hatred or my vitriol.
Right.
I was just bored and but not offended, not like I just couldn't care less.
Right.
So you got a 3 from me, and it's the least meaningful 3 I've ever given in our podcast.
It's akin to a 0.
It is. It's like I so can't be bothered. I'm just giving it a 3.
Right.
Yeah. So,
Yeah.
What about you?
I gave it a more earnest 3.
Cool.
Like there's bits to enjoy here and there. If you're gonna really listen to it, there's plenty to pick apart, and it is long. So
it's so long.
But my 3 probably comes with a little bit of like nostalgia for 2005 and like, oh yeah, I remember these guys.
Yeah,
Even though they not really I mean, they were on a 10-year hiatus, but who hasn't been?
True. I am right now.
Yeah.
You know what this kind of made me think of in a strange way, and I ended up listening to them because it's always great, but it reminded me, it's like Sludge heard this and went, I think I get what you're trying to do, and nailed it. You know what I mean? Like,
that's a good call, man. They're sick.
They're so sick. They're like this in a way, but just a more well thought out version of whatever you would call this. You know, 3's all around. Yeah, sick.
How'd we do?
We did. It's not bad. It actually, I kind of expected it to be worse. But for Terminate Damnation by Becoming the Archetype, we've got a score of 14 out of 20 for Josh. A score of 11 out of 20 for me. I don't know why that seems high. It isn't.
It seems correct.
Yeah, that's probably true. For a total of 25 points out of 40. So,
like you said, the album artwork does a lot of heavy lifting here.
Yeah, it's sick. I want that painting. Like, I would put that on my wall. It's
you can
so
have
rad. It. Really? Is that a thing?
He'll probably give it to you.
Probably. I'm sorry. You need it from what band? I don't remember that. Let me go back into my archives.
Well, even though he did like 4 of their albums.
He did, yeah. I'm kidding. Like, he clearly was on board. Well, AKA the checks probably cleared.
Yeah, right.
I don't know this person. Whatever. All right.
And if you're a self-taught painter, you need those checks to clear.
Yes, you do. Yes, you do. All right. Well, we pick our favorite songs off the album, which, man, this was not an easy task for me, to be honest.
I'm so curious.
A part of me was like, do I dare put whoever might listen to our playlist through that? Like, not because it's terrible, but just like, if you got there and had never heard it, you'd be like, what is this? Like,
right.
Why is this 6 minutes long? I mean, part of me just wants to pick track 7 because it's short.
Right.
But
do it.
I'll do track 9, Ex Nihilo. Even though I have a note that says, yeah, end the song with a fucking breakdown. And then they don't. They do a part after it. Why the fuck did they do the part after the breakdown at the end?
At 3 minutes?
They added like a minute to the song. Man, some of the choices on this thing are just so bad. It's like, why? Who? I don't know. It's like you had the perfect end of the song. Like and then you just kept going. Now I almost want to change my answer.
Just sped right on past that off ramp.
God, it's so
those are the people that go up the off ramp a little ways, then back up onto the highway because they didn't mean to exit and then keep going.
Yeah.
Not a good choice ever.
It's never.
Just keep going forward and get back on the other side.
Yeah, it's fine. You shouldn't. It's so dangerous.
So dangerous.
God, I can't believe they put a part after the break. Anyway, I'll still go with it. It's fine. I don't have a better answer. You know what I mean? Like, every song that I highlighted as a potential favorite has a lot of glaring issues. Like,
this is my favorite wrong answer from them.
Yeah. So I'll put that on there. What about you?
I hate everyone, so I picked Elegy.
Oh, man.
Yeah.
That's brutal.
I know.
Buckle up.
11 minutes.
It is. I will say there are songs on this album that are not as long. Obviously, it's the longest track, but that seem longer.
Yeah,
somehow.
for sure.
Like, honestly, track 2 Into Oblivion seems like an eternity. I mean, that shit at 6 minutes.
Well,
I mean, it's.
I guess aptly named then.
I suppose so, yeah. We will add our 2 favorite tracks to the TDTL Favorite Songs 05 playlist on Spotify. We have an 04 playlist from our reviews that we did last year, so you can check that out as well, should you want to do so. And we have an Instagram account, TDTL_podcast, if you want to, I don't know, look at 20-year-old photos of bands. 'Cause that's a lot of white belts.
A lot of white belts, yep. I guess with that.
Yeah, I mean.
He's been Brad, I've been Josh, and we've been 2 decades too late.